It was the first time in months Sarah had a chance to sit alone with her thoughts. Yet those thoughts roared like an unstoppable storm. Bills that needed to be paid, work deadlines looming heavy, and the faint ache of losing touch with herself somewhere along the way. Her life had turned into a constant sprint, rushing from task to task, barely breathing, barely feeling. Tonight, under the soft glow of the moon filtering through her living room window, she wanted desperately to find some kind of peace. But she didn't know how. Her phone buzzed, another notification, another pullback into the chaos. She resisted the urge to pick it up, instead letting her fingers trail over the stack of books on the coffee table. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed her laptop and hesitated for a moment. Normally, it would lead her to another night of endless scrolling or catching up on emails she hadn't wanted to face earlier. But tonight, something nudged her, an inner whisper, as if her soul was asking for something different. The screen filled with options, videos with serene-looking thumbnails of waterfalls, forests, and glowing suns, titles promising relaxation and focus, soft flute melodies intertwined with ocean waves. She hit play on the first one, a 7-hour track promising deep inner peace and tranquility. At first, it felt silly, a cliché solution to an immeasurable problem. The gentle hum of rain and distant chimes drifted from her speakers. As the soft, melodic tones unfolded, layered beneath the whisper of wind and birdsong, Sarah closed her eyes without realizing it. The music seemed to reach into the knots in her shoulders, the ache in her chest, the restless pull of her thoughts. Each note felt like a wave she could lean into, rising and falling, steady and predictable, washing over her. For the first time in weeks, her breathing slowed, settling into a rhythm of deep inhales and long exhales. And then, something else happened, something she couldn't yet explain. The trail of her thoughts, chaotic and scattered just moments ago, began to soften. The music didn't erase them, but it muted their sharpness. The stress that had been screaming in every corner of her mind now felt like a faint murmur, distant enough to observe without being consumed by it. Images began to form behind her closed eyes. Memories of a childhood afternoon, running barefoot through her grandmother's orchard, the smell of crisp apples in the air. The warmth of sunlight on her skin during a summer too long ago to count. The sound of laughter she had half forgotten, her own laughter, dancing across her mind like a song she hadn't realized she missed. It struck her then how much she had been craving this, a connection to something real and unhurried, something that wasn't tied to work or expectations or productivity. The music didn't offer answers, didn't promise to fix everything, but it gave her space to breathe, to feel, and to remember. As the track continued, Sarah began to notice how her body felt against the couch cushions, the weight of her limbs growing lighter, the gentle pull of gravity holding her in place. It wasn't just relaxation, it was presence. How long had it been since she truly felt present in a moment? How many sunsets had she missed, rushing past them without seeing? How many quiet moments with herself had she traded for endless to-do lists? For the next 30 minutes, or was it an hour, time slipped away in the most beautiful way. Sarah didn't count the moments, she simply existed in them. The music embraced her, weaving between the rhythm of her thoughts and the quiet reminders of her own breath. When the track ended and silence filled the room once more, Sarah opened her eyes slowly. The world hadn't changed during those minutes of stillness, but she had. Something inside her felt softer, lighter, clearer. She reached for her phone, this time not to scroll or check notifications, but to write herself a note. Remember this feeling. It wasn't just about the music. It was about what the music had opened up inside her, a doorway back to herself. From that night on, meditation music became more than just a background sound or another tool in her self-care kit. It became a bridge, a way to connect to the stillness she now realized had been within her all along. She found herself experimenting with different styles, exploring sounds that resonated with her in new and surprising ways. One day, she played tracks with soft flutes and Tibetan singing bowls, and their vibrations felt like they melted away the tension in her chest. Another evening, she discovered calming piano melodies layered with the distant echo of river streams. Over time, Sarah noticed how these small moments with meditation music extended into the rest of her life. She became more patient with herself, more forgiving of her flaws. Her mornings, once frantic and harried, now began with slow music and a few deep breaths, setting the tone for the day. Even in the midst of her busiest workdays, she started playing soft ambient tracks in the background, much like a quiet anchor, holding her steady. There were still stressful moments, of course. Meditation music didn't erase problems, and life's challenges kept coming. But Sarah had discovered something far more valuable, a practice of peace that she could carry with her no matter what storms awaited. Months later, she shared her story with a close friend over tea. Her friend had been exhausted too, worn thin like Sarah had been that first night. "It sounds too simple," the friend said, skeptical. "Music can't change anything." Sarah had smiled softly, stirring honey into her cup. "It doesn't change the world," she had replied, "but it helps you change how you face it. You don't realize how much you need space until you give it to yourself." That night, Sarah sent her friend the same meditation track she had stumbled upon months ago. And as she lay in bed listening to her own favorite calming sounds, a mix of wind chimes and soft cello, Sarah wondered how many other people might be carrying storms inside them, waiting for even a moment of calm. Little did she know she had started a ripple, one person finding stillness, sharing it with another, and so on. Meditation music may have seemed small, insignificant, a collection of sounds strung together. But to Sarah, and to countless others, it was more. It was a refuge, a reminder, and perhaps most importantly, an invitation. Slow down, listen, be. Because sometimes it's in the quiet harmony of simple notes that we find the truest parts of ourselves again. And in a world that moves too fast, that quiet can feel like the loudest kind of grace.